Good morning. My late father-in-law was a great businessman. And once years ago, he owned a little dry cleaning plant, and a man came and approached him wanting to buy the plant. And in his great business sense, Bobby, my father-in-law, said, well, he wanted it more than I did because of what he offered for it. And so they drew up a contract and had it signed, and the man paid earnest money, and there was a particular date in which they were to close on the sale of the business. And as the date approached, the young man came back to Bobby and said that he was having trouble raising the money. He was going to raise it, but he was having some trouble, and could he get an extension? And Bobby may have given him one extension, but when he came back for a second extension, Bobby said, look, I'm taking all the risk here. I can't sell my business to anybody else. I can't make any changes in my business. If the employees find out that I'm selling it, they may be afraid they're going to lose their jobs, and they may scatter, and I won't have any employees, and so I can't take all the risk for you. You'll either have to come up with the money or you'll have to forfeit the earnest money. That's just the way these kind of things work. Well, a few nights later, he got a phone call at home in the evening from a very prominent and wealthy businessman in the community. And the man said, Mr. Landers, I'm calling to vouch for this young man who is wanting to buy your business. He's going to end up getting the money. It's going to be fine. And so I think if you give an extension, that should be just fine, and you don't need to worry. Well, Bobby's response to him was, well, it sounds to me like you think a lot of this young man. Why don't you front him the money he needs to buy the business, and then everybody will be happy? And the man said to him, Mr. Landers, it sounds to me like you're asking me to put my money where my mouth is. And Bobby, in his wonderful southern drawl, said, yeah, something like that. And the man said, well, thank you, Mr. Landers, for taking my call. I won't be bothering you any further. And he hung up the phone. The young man did eventually get the money and was able to buy the business, but I just love the idea of this man calling and saying, I'm vouching for him, and Bobby essentially saying, well, then you need to put your money where your mouth is. In Matthew 23, Jesus says to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore do whatever they teach you and follow it, but do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach. Had the scribes and Pharisees come to Jesus and said, are you asking us to put our money where our mouth is? Are you asking us to practice what we teach? Jesus might have said, if he were a good old Georgian boy, yeah, something like that. But rather than just looking at the scribes and the Pharisees, when I read this passage, I realize it's a passage directed to me. It's a passage directed to you. Are we practicing what we teach? Are we putting our money where our mouths are? And Jesus, if we were to ask him, is that what you're asking us to do? He would say, yeah, something like that. And so on this day, let us practice what we preach. Let us walk the talk that we talk. Let us make sure that we put our money where our mouths are. Find a way to bring joy or hope to somebody. Offer reconciliation to somebody. Perhaps take your money and be generous with it, or your time and be generous with it, and do something wonderful for Jesus, wonderful for the kingdom of God. Doing so means that indeed we will practice what we preach. We will put our money where our mouths are, and we will be doing something like that. We can do this because God is with us. Amen.